Let's go to the brief news from the world over this week. The U.S. Congress has rolled back the National Security Agency's ability to collect and access the phone records of millions of Americans. Led by Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, the USA Freedom Act cleared the Senate 67-32 on Tuesday. It was signed into law by the president. It is the first piece of legislation to reform the post-9/11 surveillance and security measures. Gone is the bulk collection of phone data by the government. New protocols do allow intelligence agencies to access specific records from telephone companies, but only after requesting and receiving a court order. And be sure to join us next week for our exclusive sit-down with presidential candidate Senator Rand Paul. We'll talk about the Freedom Act, his run for the White House, and much more. And Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts is endorsing a ballot campaign to prevent the repeal of the state's death penalty. This past week, state lawmakers overrode Ricketts' veto and abolished capital punishment, making Nebraska the 19th state in the union to do so. The Catholic bishops hailed the new law, asserting the death penalty does not deter crime or promote the common good. Governor Ricketts said the ban means the loss of a critical tool to protect law enforcement and Nebraska families. The state will proceed with executions of 10 people already on death row. Death penalty supporters have until late August to submit enough signatures for the referendum, which would take place in November of 2016. And senior Vatican officials got a little testy this week with a pro-life activist who criticized those invited to the Holy See's recent climate change conference. Stefano Gennarini of the UN watchdog group Center for Family and Human Rights Institute took issue with the Vatican welcoming UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and UN advisor Jeffrey Sachs to their climate conference, given the men's advocacy for abortion rights and other population control measures. Gennarini published an interview with Bishop Marcello Sanchez Sorando, Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of the Social Sciences. In it, the bishop defended the UN's climate goals since they, quote, don't mention abortion or population control. They speak of access to family planning, sexual and reproductive health, and reproductive rights. The interpretation and application of those depends on governments, end quote. As for the criticism about collaborating with the United Nations, Ban and Sachs, Bishop Sorando said those attacks are the doings of oil interests and the Tea Party. Then the president of the Pontifical Academy of the Social Sciences, Margaret Archer, got into the act on the Vatican website. In a statement, Archer questioned Gennarini's understanding of Catholic social doctrine, asking rhetorically, is your sole concern with human dignity confined to the period between conception and live birth? An appointee of Pope Francis last year, Archer then reminded Gennarini, quote, I am appointed by the Pope and responsible directly to him. I'm afraid that leaves you and your cohort out in the cold. Good thing there's climate change. On a related note, Pope Francis's encyclical on the environment will be released on Thursday, June 18th. The World Over Live will offer full analysis that day. And a new survey on the worldwide Catholic Church reveals some good news and some not so good. According to the Georgetown-based Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, the global Catholic Church has grown 57% since 1980. There are now more than 1.2 billion Catholics worldwide. The highest growth has been seen in the Church in Africa, up over 200% to 198 million faithful. The Americans are still home to the world's largest group of Catholics at nearly 600 million and up 56% since 1980. Less encouraging was the lack of growth in the Church of Europe, a scant 6%. Also in decline was the use of sacraments among Catholics across the spectrum. And Bruce Jenner wasn't the only one changing things up this week. Members of the Church of England are considering a gender change for God. On the heels of a successful campaign to consecrate its first female bishop, A woman's advocacy group is now pushing for God to also be referred to as she. Anglican Reverend Jody Stowell said the current understanding of God as an old white man in the sky is deficient. God, she said, is both male and female and beyond male and female. Former Member of Parliament Anne Widdecombe, who became a Catholic when the Church of England began ordaining women priests, told the Daily Mail that the movement is plain silly, unbiblical, and ridiculous. God clearly isn't a she. As a she can't be a father.